I have a quick question for you. How do you develop a character? It's simple, right? You place them in an environment that they are unfamiliar with, and that forces them to face their fatal flaws or their shortcomings to such an extent that they grow from the encounter as a person. It might seem easy once it's all laid out in front of you, yet character development is one of the harder things to cover while writing a book, a movie, or just a story in general. It really requires you to know the character to such an extent that they could be an actual person from your real life. So you may wonder, what is the peak of character development in storytelling? Well, there's infinite examples, truly, but I'd like to take a look at Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. Puss in Boots, released in late 2022 by DreamWorks Studios. It's one of the first movies in 10 years set in the Shrek universe. Apparently Marvel just ripped off DreamWorks. Unless you've been living under a rock, you know that this movie exists because everyone and their mother has been talking about it in the last few months. And how could they not? Between the stellar animation that slaps the Disney Pixar real-life aesthetic in the face and a set of amazing, memorable characters, there's something to love for everyone here. And I'm not gonna pretend like I'm the first person to make a video about this movie, because the movie is around like 6 months old now, and a movie this good doesn't go unnoticed. It's cooked enough on the internet that by now everyone has jumped at an opportunity to eat from the pie. Regardless of its relevance on the internet at this point, I still want to take time and sit you down, my dear viewer, to talk about the character development in Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. So, let's start doing that. If this movie's message had to be described to you, it boils down to appreciating what you have, and accepting life for the way it is. Not trying to look for easy outs or simple solutions, but facing the hardships that life throws at you, taking them on the chin, and moving on. The way that the movie displays this message is through the wishing star, the main MacGuffin of the movie. The wishing star and the map that leads to it are able to grant a single wish to the person who gets the map and finds the star first. Obviously, such a powerful object doesn't go unnoticed, so along with Puss, there are multiple other people that too try to reach for the star before anyone else does. So, with there being multiple people looking for the star, there's probably also multiple people that are interested in the movie, and this is the case. So instead of looking at the main show right away, let's start with the B-plot of the movie. That takes place with Goldilocks and the three bears. Goldi is the main show of the B-plot and the entire family. She acts as their leader and their guide throughout the journey of trying to reach the map and make it to the wishing star. The first time we see them talking about the wish, it appears that the family is hunting for a wish that will make them the richest and the biggest thieves ever. Or at least so Goldi promises. But when she's asked about it, she steps back and tries to drop the topic as soon as possible, clearly showing off that she isn't being exactly truthful with her family.
Sorry, birthday wish rules.
Oh, come on. Have I daughter secret?
Mama, just drop it, please.
Oh, okay.
And after the movie drops one of the coldest transitions in cinema history, the crime family manages to get their hands on the map. They follow it for a while, and while they're doing so, they discuss their wish again, mentioning that they'll have the biggest crime syndicate ever. Then Mama Bear steps in and specifies that they'll have the biggest crime family ever. After hearing this, Goldi looks visibly upset and the map starts to malfunction. The map tells Goldi that what she actually seeks might be just right in front of her. And as she looks up, it's the bears' cabin, their home. The bears declare themselves home immediately, being comfortable, laying in their chairs, doing their daily business, but Goldi clearly is upset and wants to keep going, up until at least she finds her favorite book. She flips the pages of the book up until she comes on the page of a story of a girl and her family, a girl that, using yellow crayons, Goldi made look like herself. This book indicates to us what it is Goldi truly wants most. She wants to have a family. And a bit later on, when the family kidnaps Perrito in an attempt to steal the map back from Kitty and Puss, this is indicated once more, when Perrito looks at Goldi and says that she won the orphan lottery, which is a pretty messed up concept, but regardless, when Perrito says this, you can clearly see the conflict in Goldi. Near the end of the movie, a small fight between Goldi and Baby takes place, and in the heat of the moment, Goldi spurts out the truth.
What's your dust right? What's so blasted important that you've got us stranded in this haunted forest?
I'm getting a family. That's what, a proper family. And everything will be just right.
The bears are distraught once they hear this, and who wouldn't be? Goldi just claimed that her best life would be without them. But then Mama Bear walks up in a scene that will always make me emotional.
I was always afraid it was too good to last. And whether you think we're your family or not, if this is something that will make you happy, we'll get you that wish. Come on, boys.
It doesn't matter how big of a lie Goldi told. The bears still see her as family. They love her. so they decide to still help her get the wish she wants, if that is what will truly make her happy. And that's the message of Goldi's story. Family will stick together no matter what, even if it feels like you don't fit in. I can relate to Goldi's story, and of course my family isn't a set of bears, but I too have had plenty of moments where it feels like I simply don't fit in with them. But I still love them, and they still love me. We're still a family. And Goldi too comes to this realization a bit later on in the movie.
Hey, I'm gonna bust you up, plum thumb, and then I'm gonna wear your clothes!
That was weird.
When baby's life is in peril, Goldi sacrifices her chance to get the wish to save her real brother. And it's so beautiful to see. Of course, things won't always work out between everyone, but just looking for an easy way by wishing a new family that perfectly fits your need is such a bad thing to think about when you have a family that, although can be indifferent, is always there for you in your moment of need and crisis. A family that no matter what, stays beside you up until the very end. Having looked at the B-plot of the movie that kinda struck home with me, we finally get to look at the main show himself, Puss in Boots, and how he changes to accept his own mortality. Puss begins the movie at his high point. He throws a party and sings a song dedicated to how great of a hero he is, how he is never touched by a blade, and how fearless he is in the face of danger thrown at him. And then he proves all of these claims by taking out a giant, establishing him as a force to be reckoned with. And then you might be wondering how an internal crisis is possibly gonna form in Puss. He's at the height of his life, and you'd be correct. He's at the height of this life. Puss is then informed of his death during the battle, and together with the doctor, they figure out that he's on his last life. Initially though, Puss laughs this off. He acts as if it's nothing, as if it means nothing to him, which makes sense. He's always faced dangers far greater than him, but with the comfort and luxury of knowing that if he were to die in battle, he'd come back. And at this moment, even though he is out of lives to lose, he still considers himself immortal, because he's never felt mortal. Then Puss is asked to retire by the doctor, and if there's someone he could go to in this time of need, but Puss doesn't have an answer to that question. So how do you shake Puss up, and truly make him understand the gravity of the situation? Well, you introduce something, or someone, that he can't defeat. We just saw Puss take down a giant with little to no effort at all, but now this wolf is beating him so badly, Puss can't even land a single hit in. And for the first time ever, our fearless hero disappears, and Puss gets scared. Not just scared, terrified of death. His lives flash before his eyes, and he's frozen in place. Puss has never had to face fear like this before. He'd never had to worry about dying before. So instead of picking up his blade and fighting for his life, he runs. Puss is now at a low point, but arguably not his lowest point yet. He's now in a state of depression, simply going on with life so that he doesn't die, trying to hide from death, only until he hears of the promise of the wishing star, a quick answer to all of his problems. He can just wish his lives back and everything goes back to normal. He would be the legend again. A few fights, unsurvivable falls, and a couple of pies later, Puss is reunited with Kitty as they escape Jack's factory together with Perrito. Then Puss stares death in its eyes. And he blinks. Now, at this point of the plot, Puss plans to use the group of outlaws he has to get to the wish, and he's still a massive dick to everyone in the group around him. I mean, he basically sacrifices Perrito to check if the entrance to the dark forest is safe or not. What? But then they run into the pockets of posies, and Puss and Kitty try everything in their power to cut down the posies or to get around them as quick as possible, but it simply won't work. They then notice that Perrito is casually moving throughout the posies without any effort put in. Puss is then forced and taught by Perrito to stand still and enjoy the moment, to take it slow and appreciate what is right in front of you. After a while of roaming together and a very sweet scene of Kitty cutting Puss's beard, the group seems to really bond and become closer over time. Especially when Perrito gets captured by Jack, and he threatens to kill Perrito if Puss and Kitty do not give the map to him. Now we can see the group really becoming closer, as Puss and Kitty seem visibly upset at the prospect of Perrito being shot by Jack, whereas earlier in the movie, they wouldn't really have cared. Then a fight breaks out, and although Puss tries his best, without his sword, he simply isn't the biggest threat. And then it happens. Puss stares death in the eyes. and he blinks. Now I want to go back to a little bit earlier where I mentioned that Puss wasn't at the lowest point yet during his retirement. So what would be the lowest point for someone who is claimed to laugh in the face of death, be fearless in the face of battle, and calmly take down a giant with little to no effort at all? They must experience so much fear that they can't handle it any longer. So you give them a panic attack. This scene is absolutely stunning, and I know that this video isn't about the cinematography of the movie, but I still want to point out just how beautiful it is that Puss lets Perrito do what real therapy dogs do and lets him lay his head on Puss's chest to calm him. And Puss actually pets Perrito, even though he refrained from doing it before at all. It just goes to show that Puss has realized he needs someone to talk to and can't keep these feelings bottled up forever. So he finally opens up and tells Perrito the entire story. After his panic attack, Puss apologizes to Kitty for leaving her at the altar. Kitty then mentions that it appears that Puss has changed over the course of the journey, and while attempting to steal back the map from the bears, Puss appears open to the option of sharing the wish with Kitty. They steal the map, but Puss gets trapped in the Cave of Lost Souls. Puss plans to use the map to find a way out, and Kitty trusts him to get back with the map while she leaves to get Perrito. Puss then finds all of his past lives waiting for him in the cave, and after doing a little bit of dancing with them all, his past lives mention how he could just go and make the wish without Kitty and Perrito.
Whoa! I thought you were going to get the wish. You got the map. You don't need them. Yeah, get those lives back. Become the legend again.
And here you can see how Puss realizes that him being the legend previously prevented him from having people in his life like Perrito and like Kitty. He gets upset at his former selves, calls himself a jerk in some weird way, and then intends to leave to find Kitty and Perrito, which he fully plans to do, but he hits a roadblock.
Yeah, you.
And finally, Death reveals everything, why he's hunting Puss.
I'm not a cat person. I find the very idea of 9 lives absurd, and you didn't value any of them. So why don't I do us both a favor and take this last one now?
So Puss panics again and runs as fast as he can towards the wish, where he eventually arrives and gets close to actually making the wish until Kitty and Perrito catch up with him. Kitty is understandably pissed about all of this, and Puss tries his best to explain that without his 9 lives, he isn't Puss in Boots. He cannot be the legend he wants to be, but Kitty isn't having any of it. And then suddenly, all of the other contenders for the wish reach the star, and after a short brawl, they're all defeated or they stepped out of the race, leaving Puss with the map and ready to make his wish. But then he gets asked by Perrito.
Maybe one life is enough?
And then it's too late. Death finally makes his grand entrance, and this time Puss doesn't get a chance to run. Puss is cornered, unable to escape and forced to either face death or betray Kitty and make his wish. But this time he looks back on his journey, and realizes that now he finally has people to be with when he needs them. He isn't alone anymore, so he looks up from the map, revealing Kitty and Perrito standing behind him to support him, as he drops the map and finally faces his inner demons. In the end, Puss isn't able to defeat Death. No one is. But he knows this.
I know I can never defeat you, Lobo, but I will never stop fighting for this life.
And hearing that, Death gets curious. He stares Puss in the eyes, and Death blinks first.
I came here for an arrogant little legend who thought he was immortal, but I don't see him anymore.
Puss now values his life and the friends he has made, so because of the morality that Death works by, he has to give up his chase, leaving Puss behind with just a small thing to think about.
You know we will meet again, right?
Sí, hasta la muerte.
Puss in Boots perfectly showed us how to develop a character from a self-centered asshole to a loving and caring person that would do anything to protect himself and his family. It truly is a once-in-a-decade type of movie that I hope we won't stop talking about for a long time. I surely haven't spoken my last piece of it, and I hope you haven't either. Let me know what you thought of this video. I really don't know if it was any good, because this type of content is very new to me. If you made it this far, all I can say is thank you so much, and why not subscribe? Only a very small portion of my viewers actually are. But don't look at my last video, just trust the stats. Thank you, dear viewer, for listening to why Puss in Boots is peak character development.